This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
It's a sad fact that we're ending our first month of January of 2018, but it is a very happy fact that so much progress has been made in Asia, especially in Philippine-China relations. But our guest for this episode of 3 segments is our regular resource person when it comes to international issues, Professor of International Ethics and Relations, Professor Celso Cainglet.
Good morning.
Celso, good morning. We have many controversial issues to discuss in this episode. But let's start with good news. First, the Chinese dislodge Koreans as top Boracay visitors. This is from the Philippine Daily Inquirer and other newspapers. Chinese tourists for the first time toppled Koreans as the top foreign visitors on Boracay Island in Aklan province. The number of Chinese tourists on the island last year reached 375,284, surpassing by 5.3% the 356,644 Korean tourists who went to Boracay in Malay town. Helen Catalbas, Department of Tourism Regional Director in Western Visayas, said direct flights from Calibo International Airport in the capital town of Calibo to 8 airports in China could have contributed to the increase in Chinese tourist arrivals. Catalbas said the increase in the number of tour groups, trips of cruise ships, and direct flights to airports in the village of Aklan in Malay and Calibo boosted tourist arrivals from China and Korea, which made up 69% of all foreign tourists in the area last year. Foreigners comprised more than half of over 2 million tourists who went to Boracay last year. Tourist arrivals on the island, which hit a new record high, increased by 16% last year from 1.72 million visitors recorded in 2016. Records from the Malay Tourism Office showed visitors from Taiwan were the third biggest group of foreign tourists, 40,802, followed by the United States, 22,648, and Malaysia, 20,585. So thanks to Nestor Burgos for that report. Celso, promise fulfilled for this year.
Yes.
And more promises to be fulfilled in the coming years from China and Philippine improving relations. Second, which is relevant to what we'll discuss later, China invites partners for combustible ice research in South China Sea. China will establish a pilot site in the South China Sea to speed industrialization of, quote, combustible ice, unquote, a field fit for long-term cooperation with other countries, experts said. Combustible ice is a natural gas hydrate found in tundra or seabed areas that contains methane. It looks like ice, but when melted or depressurized, it turns into water and natural gas. Considering the huge reserves, claimants in the South China Sea issue could focus on natural gas hydrate cooperation, and China could offer technological assistance on exploitation. Liu Feng, a Hainan-based expert on the South China Sea, told the Global Times Wednesday. Data from Geology Department showed that the natural gas hydrates under the South China Sea could reach the equivalent of 70 billion tons of oil. NGH would also be a new field for countries near the South China Sea to cooperate, he said. Natural gas hydrate is mainly found in deep-sea sediments or permafrost areas. It consists of 80 to 99.9% methane and produces much less pollution than coal, oil, and natural gas when it burns. As a cleaner fuel, natural gas hydrate could ease pressure on Asia to reduce carbon emissions and help with the global upgrading of energy and economic structures. Lin Baoqiang, director of China Center for Energy Economics Research at Xiamen University in Fujian Province, told the Global Times on Wednesday. And now, we move on. DFA okay's Benham rice study by US, Japan, Korea. And while the government has approved 2 applications from China to do research in Benham rice, it has approved a larger number of such requests from the United States, Japan, and South Korea. Foreign Affairs Secretary Peter Cayetano said yesterday. In an interview with the Star, Cayetano said the administration of President Duterte approved 13 applications from the US, 9 from Japan, and 4 from South Korea. He said the information should debunk claims by critics that the administration was biased for China and that the latter's planned exploration in Benham rice was against the interest of Filipinos. I challenge them to prove that even an inch of territory and sovereignty has been compromised under the Duterte government. We are even better than the past administration in terms of territorial claims, he said at the groundbreaking ceremonies for the 13.16 billion National Government Administrative Center in the proposed new Clark City in Pampanga. He also stressed permits given to foreign countries do not yet cover actual exploration. They will just do research work. The matter of exploration would need another permit from concerned agencies, he added. Cayetano noted that China submitted 18 applications for marine exploration in Benham rice, but only 2 were approved. Okay, now this is on the financial side. Europe's central banks are starting to replace dollar reserves with the yuan. And for the past 70 years, the US dollar has been the world's dominant currency. 2/3 of the world's $6.9 trillion allocated foreign exchange reserves are held in US dollars. The yuan took a major step towards broader international adoption in 2016 when the IMF decided to include it in the basket of currencies that make up the special drawing rights, an alternative reserve asset to the dollar. The Chinese yuan hit a 2-year high against the US dollar this past week after the German Bundesbank said that it would include the yuan in its reserves for the first time. The notable development from the European point of view over the past few years has been the growing international role of the renminbi in global financial markets, Andreas Dobret, a member of the central bank's executive board, reportedly said at a conference in Hong Kong. The French central bank then revealed that it already held some reserves in yuan. As most central banks' reserves are held in dollars, any shift into other currencies such as the yuan will come at the expense of the greenback. In June, the European Central Bank announced that it had exchanged 500 million euro or $611 million worth of US dollar reserves into yuan securities. This was a small shift, but nonetheless it reflects China's growing prominence in the global financial system. So finally, Xi's historic speeches are validated at the Davos Forum. President Xi Jinping's advocacy of a community with a shared future for mankind, an open economy, globalization, and fighting protectionism and isolationism has been widely welcomed, and China has been transforming the proposals into action, said a senior Chinese official attending the World Economic Forum on Wednesday. Liu He, a member of the Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China Central Committee, addressed the 4-day annual meeting, which ended on Friday. Last year, Xi made speeches that were considered historic in Davos and Geneva. Liu said the theme of this year's Davos Forum, creating a shared future in a fractured world, is highly relevant. And it sounds like the Xi Jinping speech. He quoted Xi as saying, as long as we keep to the goal of building a community with a shared future for mankind and work hand in hand to fulfill our responsibilities and overcome difficulties, we will be able to create a better world and deliver lives for our people. Liu added, no country can cope with them alone, those problems. We need to enhance mutual understanding, tolerance, and trust, and we must seek cooperation in a sensible and practical manner. We need to shape a new type of international relations, featuring mutual respect, fairness, justice, and win-win cooperation, and build a community with a shared future for mankind. We believe this is the only way that will lead us to prosperity. That is the news for this week, and we will move on to a special report.